These days, it's cool to call yourself an entrepreneur, but the real entrepreneurs strive for continuous improvement, innovation, and willing to take risks of detrimental proportions. Join me as we meet the people that are making this happen. One by one, they're sharing the story of their journey as an American entrepreneur. In this episode of An American Entrepreneur, we're going to visit the youngest entrepreneur that's come on this channel to date. He's a 22-year-old from Vietnam, and he learned the art of car wrapping from watching YouTube videos and hands-on trial and error. So join me, check his story out. I think you'll find it really inspiring.
Hey, welcome to Absolute Wraps.
Hello, Ann. How's it going?
Pretty good.
I'm so thrilled to come out here, man. I love this kind of stuff. I'm a car guy, so. What you got going on here today?
Yeah, so we have a Infinity 250. It's in here for a full wrap job, going from a silver to a red.
Okay. Well, how about a tour of the place first, and then let's look at the project. So this is your main shop area here, I see.
Yeah, so this is our main work area. This is where a lot of the magic happens. We do full wraps and other services as well, PPF, tent. So if you walk over here, we have the lounge area for the customer.
Okay.
So this whole entire area is dedicated for the customer. We have our couch, our TV, just something comfortable so our customer can sit here while they're waiting for their ride or waiting for their service to be done. They can sit and chill. We also have our display sample wall, and this showcases a lot of our brands or colors that we do work with, and we work with more than just this brand. So far we have TechRep and 3M, but we are getting about 4 or 5 other brands coming in, so we carry a lot.
Are these the most popular colors, or just
these colors
you like?
I hand pick out these colors just because I like the way it showcase wraps. You know, because usually when you wrap a car, a lot of time people want to go for a color that's very vibrant or just kind of unique. So that's what these are. And then I also have some natural or solid color here as well. That way they get an idea how a wrap would look on their car.
There's probably hundreds of colors, aren't there?
Oh yeah, there's just from one brand, it's probably anywhere between 400 colors, and we carry multiple brands as well.
So I guess these are like your sample books or color books down here?
These are just a couple. We're waiting for more to come in.
So when someone picks something out of one of these books and you don't stock it, of course you can't stock everything.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get it?
So it takes about a week to get, usually on average, depending on the brand. For an example, if we go with 3M or Avery, they do have a warehouse here locally in the DFW area where I can just go to their warehouse and pick up the wrap. So for the most part, if they have that color in stock, I can get it the same day. Now, if we're talking about TechRep and other brand, it takes about a week to get.
Before you order, I guess you require a certain amount of deposit.
Exactly, yes. So our deposit, we just require an $800 deposit, and that will cover material fees and also shipping fees if there's any.
Okay.
And that's the only deposit we require. No, nothing more. And to finish out the rest of the payment will be after we finish the car.
Okay. What's this room over here?
This is our office area. This is where I used to cut out the stickers and to check out customer. So I do a lot of this is a lot of the social media side, a lot of the backstage side of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed when I first walked in the real intense lighting here. I guess this is a standard thing for all companies that do wraps.
Yeah, so the thing with wrap is you do want to have really good lighting. That way you can see a lot of the details. Having the sidewall lights are nice because you get to see both angles from both sides. But the most important light is the top light. So with these honeycomb lights, if you can see, it reflects off the panel, and you can see, if you're missing a spot or any imperfection into the wrap, you can see it right away.
I see you removed the the front end here.
Yeah, we typically remove anything that's necessary to have a full coverage when we do a full wrap. Usually, people don't remove mirrors, but we do remove mirrors. Handles has to be removed at all times, regardless if you're getting a full wrap or just the outside.
So you've already done this side, I see, in this red, and then you always work in this order?
Yeah, I have a particular order. I like to do one side first to fully finish it, then hop onto the other side.
Okay. I see you removed all the taillight assemblies as well.
Yes, remove everything. Because usually around the edges right here, that's where all the dust and dirt gets stuck in between. So if you remove it, you get to fully cover over here, and then when you put back the tail light, it covers all the gray.
How long does it usually take to do one of these jobs on average?
On average, about 6-7 days. Business days, not including the weekends.
And I guess there's a lot of prep work that goes into it as well, right?
Yes, the prep work requires about a day and a half of work, and that's from cleaning the car, clay barring it, to removing everything that's necessary.
So you're about 20% done on this one, or?
Yeah, so this side it's about 30-ish%, just because we have to do a lot of more disassembling or a little bit more prep work. On this side for sure, yesterday we had a PDR guy came by and they removed the dent off the car. So that's why I haven't touched this side yet. So.
And if there's any imperfections in the paint, it'll show up through the wrap, right?
Exactly, yes. So if you have rock chips or deep scratches in the paint, then it can show up on the wrap. Even though the wrap is a little thick, once it's on the car, it will still show up.
What are the most common questions people will ask when they inquire about getting a wrap on their car?
The most important questions that I do get are two, and that is one, how long does the wrap last? And the wrap, it can last anywhere between 2.5 years up to 6 years, depending on how you take care of it. The second question is, will it ruin my paint? Depending on your car, if it's originally painted by the manufacturer, then it will not ruin the paint when you remove it. But if your car's been resprayed and it's not the best quality respray, then it can potentially be ruined when you remove the wrap.
Yeah, I really like your shop.
Thank you.
You could do 2 cars in here easily, can't you?
Yeah, 2 cars easily. 3 cars just for storing whenever the shop closes.
So introduce yourself and tell us about this business you've started here.
So my name is An, originally from Vietnam. So this business is a vinyl wrap business, and its main focus is auto customization shop. So a lot of it is just cosmetics only. So we have vinyl wrap, tint, PPF, powder coating, and other items as well.
When did you start this business?
I started this business probably when I was anywhere between 17 years old, 16,
Okay.
17.
Well, that must have been like a year or 2 from now. Well, how old are you now?
22.
Okay, well, you're pretty young to be an entrepreneur. How did you get inspired to become an entrepreneur in the first place?
So it's kind of a weird story, but growing up, I've always had the feeling of just like selling, being my own boss. Back in middle school, I would start it out, as any good kid, we have candies. We would start selling candy on the side at school. And then I started making a t-shirt company back in middle school. I had came up with my own logo, and I did screen printing myself back in middle school. This is middle school. I built my own screen printing machine. I screen printed it and I ironed it, and I started selling shirts for like $10, $15 a shirt. And that's when I found out, okay, I really enjoy actually going out there and trying to become an entrepreneur. And in high school is whenever I started becoming more and more, I guess I don't know how to describe it, more and more connected towards what I want to do. I was bouncing jobs left and right, trying to figure out what I really like. So I had about 5 jobs back in high school, and I didn't like any of them. Like, honestly, some jobs were fun, some were good paying jobs. As a high schooler, I was getting paid $10 to $12 an hour, and I didn't like it because I just didn't like the whole being someone's employer.
Right.
Right. So, and when I got my Lexus, this was back in sophomore year, high school. I got my Lexus, and I didn't have the money to paint the car at all, and painting car was super expensive. So I found out about wrap on YouTube. I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos on wrapping, and I thought it was so cool, like how you can change the color of your car with just a sticker, basically. And I ordered my first roll of wrap, and I just practiced my car right then and there. And
I guess in your garage at home?
yeah, in my garage at home with just a hair dryer.
So you never
yeah.
worked for someone to do this?
Exactly, yes. So I learned this just basically from doing it. I didn't have anyone to actually teach me correct method, correct steps on how to prep the car, how to actually apply the material on the car. So I spent a lot of research watching YouTube videos, and it's kind of different when you watch a video for hours and then applying that concept in real life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So once I started practicing actually wrapping, that's when I realized it's not that bad. Like, it was hard at first, but it wasn't bad at all.
Were you doing it out of your house, the garage first?
Correct.
Professionally?
Not professionally.
Oh, you weren't. So you started out in a location like this from the get-go when you started doing it for pay?
Yeah, I know. I started in my home garage, but not professionally. It was just more like I started wrapping. Hey, you want to get your car wrapped? I'll help you wrap it. Just kind of like getting more experience. So I didn't really charge anybody for a good minute.
Well, how long were you in that other location?
A year. I was there for a year. The lease there was only for that 1 year term.
And then the lease here is for how long?
It's a 2-year lease.
2 years?
Yeah.
And then, so you were over there, then you moved over here. I guess you built enough clientele to be able to, and a reputation to be able to come here because you're closer into Dallas.
Yeah.
What's the demographic of a lot of the people that come out here to get their cars wrapped?
A lot, actually. Like, you'd be surprised. Here, even when I was in North Eagle Mountain Lake, a lot of the demographic was very diverse. There wasn't a specific race that would come to get their car wrapped. Even coming here to Mansfield, I noticed the same way.
Or age? Yeah. What is the typical age?
Typical age? Usually they're pretty much in their early 20s up to maybe mid 30s. Just any car enthusiast. So even for like people who are a little bit older, they're still into cars and they would still like the car wrap. And we get a couple customers like that as well.
What's the hardest color to wrap?
Hardest color to wrap, I would definitely say chrome. That's just something, it's really fragile and it's very sensitive when it comes to heat and the way you apply the material on the car. So that one itself is probably the hardest one to
I can imagine, because every speck of dirt would show up through it.
And then with chrome, it's not like regular standard wrap where you can heat it. So chrome, if you heat it too much, the actual material will haze up and you can't fix it. If you stretch it too much, you can actually crack the material. So it's very fragile. It's kind of like putting aluminum foil on a car and trying not to get any wrinkles on it. That's how I see it as.
What's the biggest challenge in having a business like this, wrapping vehicles?
The biggest challenge that I'm facing now,
or 2 or 3 challenges?
Yeah, well, one of the main challenge that I have right now is just I'm so young and I don't know much about business in general, and trying to learn as I go. So just basically running a business is the biggest challenge right now, because when it comes to labor wise, it's not bad. I know how to wrap, so the labor side is taken care of, but it's more towards building a structure and keeping that structure alive, because a lot of business, they tend to fail in a few years, and that's not where I'm trying to be at.
Do you have any employees?
Currently we don't, but I am in the middle of training someone right now. So that's in a couple months, he'll be actually working here full time.
Are you the sole owner? Do you have any investors or partners?
I do have an investor. It's one of my, I would say, closer friend, but we try to keep business as business and friends as friends. So we don't really talk about business when we're together hanging out.
Okay, well that's good.
He handles the backstage of this business. He does a lot of our social media and messaging as well.
Okay. So speaking of social media, what are your primary marketing and advertising methods?
Our primary one is Facebook Market and also Facebook ads. It looks like Marketplace for some reason gets more clicks than ads, But Facebook is our to-go just because I guess a lot of people are just on Facebook nowadays. Even they separate into groups, so that's what helps a lot. You know, being in a car enthusiast group, and then you just post your work, and someone asks, and that's where we get our clientele from.
Well, I would think in Dallas-Fort Worth there's a lot of competition in doing these wraps. How do you set yourself apart from the competitors?
So setting yourself apart for me is just keeping the shop as connected to the customer as possible, as a kind of in a friends and family type of way. And, you know, I want my customer to feel at home when they're here. So the biggest thing is the first thing you step through this door is you feel comfortable. So I want to be able to set myself from other shop in that aspect. You know, I don't want you to come into the shop and like, oh man, it's just any other shop.
Whenever you do a wrap, I guess when people come pick up their car, they're going to walk around and inspect the hell out of it.
Of course.
How hard is that? Or surely they have little nuances, or some of these people are perfectionists. I mean, how do you handle some of that whenever people say, well, let's do this or do that?
I'm open-minded. So if customer, let's say if I think I did a solid job and the customer comes in and they don't like that particular spot, for an example, and they tell me, then I'm open-minded. I don't try to tell them, oh no, this. I actually take what they want and I'm like, okay, we'll get it fixed. We can do it right now, or have them sit in the waiting room while we fix that area. But for the most part, I actually try my best to get as close as a perfect job as possible. And the thing about wrap is it's such a hands-on type of job. No matter what you do, it's all hands-on. The minute you squeegee the wrap to the second you cut the material, it's all hands-on. So you're gonna have human errors here and there, but there's the level of degree where it's acceptable. So the most part, I just try to keep it clean and looking nice for the customer.
Well, I know a lot of people are taking internet payments, but how do you take payments from customers?
Our payment system right now, we do accept Zelle, Zelle Cash. We also are in a process of getting a card reader as well. So that's gonna be something new. And here shortly, I don't know when yet, but we're gonna be offering Snap Finance for whoever wants to be able to finance a full wrap.
Okay, that's cool. Well, as far as this location here, what are your plans 3 to 5 years from now for this business?
Oh, grow. Grow.
You want a bigger shop, or maybe different locations in the Metroplex, or what are some ideas you have?
My ideas is to be able to branch out more than just wraps. So right now, my bread and butter is wraps, but eventually I want to have a one-stop shop where it's big enough, and no matter what service you want to get done, we can provide for you. And being able to, the biggest thing I also want to do is start doing commercial wraps, for companies who wants to get their trailer wrapped, or even company who wants to get the wall wrap. That's something in the future from now, but as of right now is just car wraps.
Now, what are all the services though you provide here today?
So we provide a lot. We do vinyl wrap, of course, PPF or paint protection film, ceramic coating, and also paint correction, tint, powder coating, wheels or calipers, either or. So those are all our main service that we provide.
Well, your goals when you're talking about having a location where you provide all the services, what are some of the services that you want to provide other than what you just listed in that goals? The
one biggest service that I do want to provide is the ability to do suspension work, adding more than just cosmetic. Started branching into more towards performance, as suspension, wheels and tires as well. That's one of the biggest things. Occasionally here and there I'll help install coilover or airlift system on a car, but that's not my main goal. But in the future, yes.
If somebody wanted to start a wrap business just like this, what are some pieces of advice that you would give them, that things that you learned that caught you by surprise that you wish you knew when you first got started?
I would definitely say, oh man, that's a tough one, because I gotta say.
Well, it can be 5 different things or one, but things that you wish you knew besides the business aspects of it, because I know you mentioned that's the biggest challenge for you. But if someone thought, I'd like to start doing wraps, what are some things that you would share with them that watch out for?
Definitely, I would say watch out for the environment you're in. So if you're in a garage, right, since the garage is so small and there's so much dust and dirt there, you just got to be able to make sure the environment is clean at all time. Dust and dirt is the most common natural enemy when it comes to vinyl wrapping, even paint. So I think the biggest thing is, if you're trying to start a business, especially a wrap business, is watch your environment and just really don't give up. You know, like if you struggle on a panel of a car, don't quit then and there. Just, you know, take a step back, relax, take a look at it, and, you know, maybe even go inside your house or go for a quick walk, just kind of get your mind off of it and come back and then do it again.
Okay, because these wraps, there's no, or is there such thing as wraps that are cut for certain panels? Is it
No.
always just this long sheet,
Yes.
flat sheet you're working with?
Yes.
And I guess you're working with the heat gun
Yeah.
and stretching it.
Yeah, because the wrap is so, you know, it stretches and it contracts at the same time. So if I were to have a pre-cut, it would not be able to wrap around edges and stuff like that. And when you peel the backing paper off the wrap, it's very flimsy as well. So it's very easy to misalign. So it's better to get a whole roll and cut it out and give yourself a few inches on each side, so you have room to play with.
What's the busiest time of the year that you do this?
The busiest time is usually any time after tax season, realistically.
Really? It's after tax
After
season?
tax season or before the winter time, because a lot of car enthusiasts, they have car meets during the springtime and also during the summertime.
Okay.
So during the winter time, they tend to store the car away, so they don't really work on their car at all. So
Okay.
that's where it slows down.
Okay. Overall business in general, not necessarily just the wrap business,
Yeah.
but what advice would you give someone that wanted to start any kind of a business?
I think the biggest advice would be definitely save up the money for it, just because, you know, like when I started this business, I didn't know how much money I had spent on it. For an example, getting an LLC, if you're going to pay someone, that's pretty pricey. And then after that, you have to, you know, get all these other certificates to even become a legit business. And then once you get that, then the warehouse or the unit, wherever location you're at, I would say if you're, you know, trying to start a business, at least save up where you have a decent amount where it can last you about half a year. That way it gives you 6 months to make those money back up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would think one of the biggest expenses you had were these lights.
Yes.
Was this probably the biggest capital outlay you had to make when you started this business here?
I would say so. These lights were pretty expensive, but it actually does bring a lot of our customers too. So I think it was a worth asset that we have here.
Well, it really looks good. It's very impressive. And of course, obviously, you've got to be able to see
Yeah.
very clearly and very close, so you do a spot-on job.
Exactly.
What's some of the most common vehicles that you wrap, or is there really such a most common?
There isn't really most common vehicle, but there are common colors whenever a customer comes and pick out the color they like. Just for an example, from what I've experienced, a lot of Teslas, they tend to like the satin color, so either satin gray or satin black.
That's the one that kind of looks like a matte
Yeah,
finish?
it's a matte finish, but it has like almost like a greasy gloss to it, but it's not glossy. You know.
Okay.
So that's most popular color for that vehicle. A lot of these newer vehicles, like this Q50 I have in the back, they want more something like a solid, broad, more vibrant color that has more pearls and flakes into it. Those are, you know, our normal color options that a lot of customers tend to pick out.
Okay. Well, as far as when people call you, do they just ask for an estimate right over the phone, or
Pretty much,
do
yeah.
you like for them to bring the car in? Because
Yeah.
I would think there's all kinds of problems with the car that they don't tell you about.
Exactly.
Dings, bondo chipping, and you got to fix all that before you
Wrap.
do that wrap.
Correct.
How do you handle that when they roll in here and they've got all these defective areas?
So I tell them over the phone, you know, whenever they call, it's most of the time, or if not all the time, it's just gonna be, hey, can I get a quick estimate? That's when I give them a pretty broad answer, a pretty broad number, and I tell them then and there, you know, that number can go up or down depending on your car, the condition of your car, and also the color or brand you want to go for. We advise all customers to bring their car into the shop. That way I can take a good look at it, give you guys a more better aggregate. Because I can give you a $3,500 price point online through text or a call. But if you bring your car in and it's in perfect condition, and then the color you choose, it could be less, you know? and that's like the one thing that a lot of customers tend to do. And then once they hear that basic number, they don't want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know that when we were touring this car, and the camera's not going to pick it up, but it had some repainting on it. It had orange peel, and you said that would show through the wrap.
So the orange peel on the right there, I guess they didn't buff it out or did it correctly, so it gave it a very textury finish, and when you lay the wrap over it, it will still show that imperfection. So to fix that, we would just have to wet sand it and get it smooth again.
And you do that?
Yes.
You actually do that?
Yeah.
Do you charge extra for that, or
Yes.
maybe it's just a small spot?
Yeah, if it's in a small spot where
just knock it out.
just knock it out. Might as well. It's already here. It's part of the prep. But if it's the whole car and it just needs a lot of work, then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna have to charge you by the hour.
Okay.
And that's where the price comes in.
Okay. Well, Ann, I really appreciate you coming on this channel and sharing your story and inspiring others. And I know you'll do really well and grow really big. So appreciate it a whole lot.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
I think the biggest takeaway Tran shared with us is the fact that he mentioned his weakest area is not knowing a lot about business. And I think that scares a lot of people, and it's why they never go into business in the first place. But I have no doubt he'll do really well because it's sort of common sense. It's about managing money, managing your customers and your clients, keeping them happy, and about providing just really good service. And if you're doing that, everything else will fall into place. Now, of course, it's great to have a mentor, someone that can help you along the way, but don't let fear keep you from realizing your dreams and ambitions. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was inspiring. I'm Curtis Mulberg. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.